And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. You're joined once again with your host, Shawn Gervais from OrbisX CRM, as well as Marty, Mr. Marshall Hill from the Pints and Polishing Podcast, as well as hyperClean Car Care Products. What is going on, Marty? Ask you a question just as you take a bite, too. Huh?
I'm just a little slice of heaven right here.
Oh, shit. Oh, is that picanha? Jesus.
Oh, picanha burger.
Damn.
Last night I ground up
Look at that thing.
Picanha.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. Jeez. Smashed it out, made little, there's smash burger type patties.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some Munster cheese. Kind of charred up my bun on the flat top, and yeah.
Oh my God, man. That's amazing.
Jesus. I had to bring it just for today.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you were like, yeah, I got a surprise for today. And then as soon as I saw that, I was like, you bastard. I'm so jealous, man. Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing.
So good. Full on. I mean, look how thick that burger is. That's a big, thick burger of nothing but steak. Like,
yeah, that is something else, man. Jesus. What's the reheat value on those? Pretty decent. The reheat value. Like, some things don't have any reheat value. You know what I mean? It's pretty good.
I mean, it's reheated, so
Yeah, like not as good as day one, but like it's okay. Yeah. Well, hey man, there's a lot of things that they just have zero reheat value. But
burgers are okay. Usually, I mean, a lot of times it's the bun. Yeah. The bun doesn't reheat very well.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But that's quick enough. You can always just whip them together,
Yeah.
Yeah. Me on my end, last night I made what do you call them? Egg rolls from scratch, and yeah. Oh my God, they were so good. And the beautiful thing, you can put anything you want inside, different veggies, things like that. People put different meats. So I made a little mixture. Some had meat, some didn't, stuff like that. But oh my God, I was testing out this new method I saw. This guy was telling me how to make a sauce. I was watching this video on how to make these sauces. And then through it, he said, oh, and click my next video if you want to see the secret to how they make the crispiest egg rolls in Chinese restaurants. And right away I was like, let me click that. I had to. Exactly. Like, let me watch this. So watch
good line, right?
Oh, big time. Yeah. It's what a draw. Like, yeah, just pulled me right in. And actually, you know what? The title too was a little bit even different. And I remember seeing it and thinking there was a guy who said some of the top videos on YouTube, they all start with you. And so it'll say like you, like the top views, they all say like you need to see this, or you won't believe, or you this, it addresses the person. And it says that's what it was. It was like, you won't believe the secret to these Chinese egg rolls, or something like that. And I was like, oh shit. So anyway, clicked it, watched it. And so deep fried, but first on a lower temperature. He had it at like 325, and then he let it cool for like 5 minutes, put them back in at 375. Oh my God, man. The interior, just moist, flavorful. The exterior, so crunchy. You could literally just like snap it in half. It was, oh my God. They were so good. I made my own sauce, everything. I had some apricots, dried apricots, crushed them up, made a bunch of stuff with, oh man, it was good. It was good. Yeah. I mean, it's still a picanha burger, but it was it's what I'm working with.
Listen, I take your recipe as well as your pre-tip you already threw out there. I'm in. I mean, you're already jumping in. The pre-tip's there. Like,
yeah, see, I'm getting so good at it. The tip is just subtle,
Yeah. So good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah, absolutely. I have tons. So my next tip is but actually, it's funny. I saw something in the group today. When I was, I was doing a little bit of research because I had a really good tip, but I was like, no, this one needs to be on like a multi-part segment. So then I was like, okay, so if I started off with a little tip that I was going to talk about, collecting some ideas throughout the week. It's grown into something bigger. We're going to have to talk about doing like a multi-segment, like what we did before with our funnel segments and stuff. So then I was like, oh shit, well, if I just destroyed that, what am I going to talk about today? Anyway, I was going through some stuff, and I took a break. I'm going through one of the groups, and I saw this. There's a group. I don't need to mention the name, but a lot of the groups function the same way. There'll be, some people that run the group or started it, and then they have a bunch of people that joined. And typically, the top of the pyramid, they're pushing, a particular brand or something like that. pretty heavily in comparison to other ones. And it was a picture of this guy being held down, and he was trying to escape like zombies or something, but it only showed the torso, the front torso side, and it was like, you said you wanted to get in the group, now hold still. And I was just like, that's pretty much what it's like. You want to stay in the group, you know, you gotta, in some of these groups, you gotta play ball. And that means if they're using a certain brand or something like that and pushing it hard, you get a lot of these people that have just drank the Kool-Aid, ate up the bullshit, and push it religiously without having even entertained other things that are out there. Which this whole image led me down a rabbit hole of me doing some research on perspectives and having different thoughts. And there was a study released, and it was insane. Something like 84%, which is really high. 84% of successful people have one thing in common. They have lots of things in common, but one main thing is they go through life being able to hold two different perspectives, so they don't get rooted into one belief and one belief only. So things like, could be anything like, oh, did they fake the moon landing? That person can believe that they maybe did fake it, but then at the same time, no, we made it to the moon. You know, they're not one way or the other. They're able to go through life and see those different things. And so by doing that, everything that comes their way, they're skeptical while at the same time a believer. And so it fuels their decision making in a positive direction every time.
There was a book I listened to, and this is where I many times wish I knew more, but I understand my GPA and where I'm from in Oklahoma. So I just always, acknowledge it is what it is, right?
Hmm.
That was a shot at my own self by also acknowledging that I wish I was smart. There was a book that I listened to, it was about a year ago. And he was talking about when you ask somebody a question, for instance, how was your day? And somebody lists off all the great things, right? You know that they're one way, right? This is where I wish I remembered the whole part of the story, but it was something like they fall into this certain type of category. Then you had somebody that was always going to say my boss got mad at me. Oh, well, we ran behind today. You're right. They're always going to pull out, and they would fall in this other category. There's a third person that falls into the category exactly what you're talking about. They will always say, hey, we had this happen, but then we also had this happen. Hey, we had this, and this, but you know what? We also did this, and this was really cool too over here, here, right? So, I think we should start asking people questions, and then you can kind of figure out which camp they fall into.
Which camp they fall into, yeah.
Are they going to be successful or not, according to Shawnism?
Yeah. I know everything. And so, but it is an interesting thing, and it's similar to what we were talking about last week with the small talk stuff. And I think it's a really important thing is to have small talk with customers, obviously, but even with your staff, because figuring out a little bit more about your staff. So like something we do, okay, here's another mini tip. Something we do at our shop when we hire somebody is we spend some time with them. Yeah, pre-tip, another pre-tip. Here we go. We spend time with them. We have a certain job that we hire someone to do. We hire them for that position, but then for the next 30 days, we make sure that all of us, because there's 3 owners, we make sure that all of us are available at some point to spend some time with that person, to get to know them a little bit. And we kind of go through exercises, asking them things like that, like, how did the day go today? Like, what were some wins? What were some losses? What were some things that were, challenges that you could have, overcome better if you had more support or more tools or whatever the case is. But we kind of go through that process. And through that, we often realize certain people do fall into one of those camps where they answer things a certain way. And so they'll, always focus on the negatives, like, oh, this went wrong, or, oh, this was impossible to do. This was that. And even when you say like, okay, well, what was a win today? Like, what was something you could, get a trophy for? And they'd be like, oh, I don't know. Everything just seemed to go bad. And it's like, okay, this person is probably just like negative. You know what I mean? And so it's like that person might bring down the energy from everybody else, and they're not going to be looking for solutions to things on their own. We're going to have to babysit the shit out of this person. So sometimes it's better to just recognize within those first 30 days, cut that person quickly. And it goes back to the whole thing. This is the pre-tip, is that when you're dealing with somebody, a lot of people have this mindset that you can make anybody become anything. So you can, oh, if that person's kind of negative, I can work with them and they'll become positive, right? But sometimes you have to realize if you squeeze an orange, every single time you get orange juice. You never get apple juice, because what's inside is what's inside. And so sometimes if someone, gets really defensive all the time, every time you bring something up, or they get really angry quickly, things like that, you have to understand it's not you making them angry. It's that when something gets squeezed, what's inside comes out. And so if someone's always, coming with negativity, hostility, all those kinds of things, you might have to realize that you've been hoping to get apple juice, but you're squeezing an orange. And so that was just a pre-tip. But anyway, it's and all of this from that post I saw like led me down this rabbit hole. But it is one of those things where, those groups, for example, like you might join a group because you're looking for some advice. You might be squeezing an orange, hoping you're getting, apple juice or lemonade. And so if you are looking for certain things and you see what's in that group and you ask a question and you're always seeing what's coming out, if it's, never helpful or rarely helpful, stop squeezing that orange, and go squeeze another fruit. That would be anyway, that's yeah, okay, there might have been a better way I could have said that. Anyway, oh boy. Yeah, I shouldn't be talking about tips and squeezing fruit. So yeah, anyway, did you see any good posts? We'll move on from that. You seen anything interesting online, social?
Well, I didn't see it, but we talked about something.
Yeah.
How some people get into one camp and will go in and start fighting other people in another camp because somebody wants to use something else that somebody else, I don't know, like, it is strange, isn't it? Like, with the amount of snake oil that is in our industry.
Yeah.
Listen, if you find something you like, cool. Do you, right? Like, why is it got to be somebody else doesn't find your special sauce? Like,
it's true. I know. And I find so many times people are focused on the wrong things. Like, instead of us focusing on working together, oftentimes, and I've really only seen it this prevalent in this industry, because like I'm involved in other industries and there's a lot more cooperation, collaboration, and support, even for guys that are far away from each other. And I'd even go so far as to say, like, even on our tinting side, there's groups that we're in for the tinting side, and it happens occasionally where you're like, oh, I can't believe you're using that, brand of film, or that, this and that. It happens occasionally, but not to the same level with the chemical side. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's I don't know what people are so addicted to and obsessed with, arguing about something like, oh, I can't believe you're using that product. Do you know what ingredients inside there? Oh my God. Yeah, it says it's a 10-year warranty. That's bullshit. Oh, it says it's no warranty. That's bullshit. Like, they're like never satisfied, and they'd rather spend their whole day just attacking people for what they're using. If someone's using something else, I mean, maybe be like, hey, listen, by the way, I'm personally using this. I've had great experience with it. Do your own research. Period. You know what I mean? But I've seen comments, man, they just go back and forth and back and forth. They're going and taking screenshots of shit. They're like, look what the company said on their website. Look what they posted in this Facebook group. And it's all this and that. And all of a sudden they become, what's that detective there? I don't know. Anyway.
Columbo?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So and it's like, holy Jesus, man. Like, what's going on? Are you all right, man? Because for me, it's like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of products out there that are trash, absolute garbage, and there's a lot of them out there that make a lot of false claims and stuff like that. But I don't go out of my way to, if some other detailer says that they love it, I'm like, hey man, good, I'm happy for you, happy it's working for you. I'm not going to take my whole afternoon now and try and argue with it. But if they ask me my honest opinion about something, I'll give it to them, obviously. But if I just see some random person I've never even met before and they're posting about how much they love something, hey man, have at it. You know what I mean? But on the other side of that, though, there's a lot of companies, I think, that that's a downside I've seen, is that there's a lot of companies that make just outlandish claims. And like, as I was telling you before, we had a company reach out and they were trying to tell us at our shop to replace our paint protection film with their coating, and that it would basically be equal. The results would be the same. And I was trying to explain to them, I said, listen, we do coatings as well. And so maybe we could try out your coating and maybe it would be as good or better than the coatings we're using. But I'm not going to go and agree with that person that it's going to replace our paint protection film. It's a very different, like, we're not comparing anything even close, you know? And he was adamant that, no, this is, at one point it's paint protection film in a can. I think that was what was said, something like that. It's like, hold on, can you repeat that? And then it's like, I don't know, man, because I bet you, like, we have Canadian winters up here, and I bet you if we put it through some tests, this December, man, watch how fast.
So I bet you, like the PPF or, the tint you were mentioning where they'll call out certain ones. It's probably when there's like known snake oil, right? Or known bad stuff or known like, yeah, man, this is absolute crazy. These people said that, PPF in a can. Like, hold on. Like, I bet you that's when they call it out, and I bet you that's when they get after it. What type of person is a tinter versus the type of person who's a detailer who's going to be on groups running their mouth like that? I really wonder what they're like. Of course, we're all going to put them into that category, which I talked about earlier, that is always talking negative and is always everything to that person is negative. So we know in their psyche, there's something always going on with them if they've got to be on a social media platform blabbing their mouth like that, right? Like their psyche, there's something wrong. And then we know too, right? We know that person really isn't very successful based off the formula that you talked about, because they can't see how maybe for somebody else, right? Maybe, maybe, right? Like can't even have the maybe. They just come at somebody, right? Like, whew.
It's true. I've definitely noticed a big difference in the guys that do tinting and the guys that do detailing. I've noticed a difference in our industry that the tinters just seem a little more established as a whole. Like there's obviously detailers that really have their shit together, but there's also very low cost of entry, and I think it affords a lot more mistakes as an industry where, like, you could clean a car and maybe your customers are super happy, but you're actually doing a shit job compared to how it should be done. But those customers just happen to be happy because a lot of things get overlooked when cleaning your car or something like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, in comparison to windows, when you tint someone's windows, like, it's like right there. And if there's like bubbles or if there's a crease or if there's crinkles or something, like, it's like right there and it drives the customer crazy. You almost have to, like, those guys that don't know what they're doing and they're not good at running a business and so on and so forth, they kind of get filtered out pretty quickly in comparison. Whereas, like, I've seen some guys that just really don't know what they're doing and they can still run a detailing business. But like I said, there's a lot more that are running it well. But I think that part of the problem is to get set up for tinting requires a little bit more of a business establishment versus, oh yeah, I just started off with 2 buckets and a wash mitt, and you get a lot of those guys, and so it's just everyone's got an opinion, right? But a lot of the tinters, I just feel like it's definitely has been a more supportive community with things, and usually there's things they call out that are, there were some Asian films that came in a while back, and literally you'd put them on, and within 6 months, it would literally be a clear window again. And it's because it just, the UV rays, like, it was just a garbage product, and the proof was there. It was visible. Like, I tinted a window and it's no longer tinted. You know what I mean? Like you can't really. It had one job and it didn't do that one job. Or there'd be things, failures with the glue and stuff like that, like the adhesive. I don't know. It's just, there's definitely different breeds that I've seen. But the biggest thing too is, like, in comparison to volume, there's a lot more detailers than there are tinters, right? Because it's different skill set, different, barriers of entry, so on and so forth. And so I think that when you have a larger group of people and it's not necessarily something that requires a certain type of individual to get into, you're going to get a lot more people just shooting their mouth off. That's what happens,
Oh, all right. I've got a couple questions I want to ask you.
All right.
And they're about OrbisX.
All right.
Because I think there should be some time that we go into a little bit of a deep dive of some cool things inside of OrbisX.
All right. I love it.
So first off, I want to know, if I sign up for OrbisX, do I have to have a website? Does OrbisX provide me a website? What is the whole thing with websites and OrbisX?
All right, good question. So first answer is no, you don't have to have a website. So you can completely operate online with OrbisX in place of a website, but you should have a website, I would say, for your business, because they're inexpensive, quick to set up. Even if it's something basic, you should have a website. A website's helpful in a lot of ways, but it's not necessary. So you can sign up for OrbisX and just use it as a standalone tool. People will be able to pay online still. People will be able to book appointments online.
Everybody, how do they do that? They go to an OrbisX website?
Yeah, good question. So every business gets their own dedicated booking landing page, basically. And then so you'd be able to have that automatically sent out to your customers, as well as you can put that on your business card with a QR code, or you can just put the link, things like that. You can put it on your Facebook page. We now integrate with Google Reserve as well. So you can actually, if you have a Google My Business page, which you definitely should have, it's free. It takes minutes to set up. And then you can actually add your address in OrbisX in the Google Reserve section, and it'll connect with Google so they can book appointments directly through Google, but using the OrbisX platform, which is pretty cool. So definitely don't need a website, although it's 2023, and I would definitely recommend getting a website. And if you're looking for a website as well, sign up for a trial of OrbisX, and then we have a little button you can click for partners, and you'll see some good website companies to work with.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
You're listed on there too, buddy. Not for websites. Don't reach out to Marty for websites. No,
don't. Do you have majority of people? I would say majority of them do have a website, or do a lot of people not do?
Yeah, so it's about 50-50 split, those that have a website versus those that don't have a traditional website. Within the 50 that don't,
yeah,
so within the 50 that don't, almost all of them have a Facebook page. And so what they've done is, in place of putting their website, they put their Facebook page. And that's helpful as well. There are limitations when you have a Facebook page versus a website. And that's where we always recommend, get a website if you don't have one. And if you do have one, that's great, because now you can do even more with OrbisX as well. So we have custom form builders. So let's say you want to have a quote form or a lead generation form, or even if you're running Google ads and you want to direct that traffic somewhere, you can build these forms and have a landing page from OrbisX, and it'll connect and save leads for you automatically. And then the cool thing is, now our AI, which we call Luna will follow up with those customers automatically for you, so you don't have to remember. So that's some of the bonuses, as well as other things like selling gift cards. Christmas is coming up soon, so it's right around the corner. So getting prepared for that, you have time to get a website set up, sign up for OrbisX, and then you can embed your gift card purchase form right on your website as well. So that's but you can still do that without a website, that being said. But website, definitely a go-to. But if you have to make a choice, today's economy, if you have to choose one or the other, OrbisX is going to give you a lot more bang for your buck than a website. That's for sure.
There you go. That was going to be a good question, right? Is which direction would you go?
What should I do first? Yeah. It's something we get a lot. Like, we get a lot of new startup businesses that come in, and we help them out from start to growth. And basically the first thing they ask is, they're like, okay, well, I need to get a website, I need to do Google ads, all this stuff. What should I do first? And it's start with your ads and OrbisX, and then get a website if that's the case.
Cool. Thanks, man. All right. So absolutely. What about a tip? Let's go with my tip. I'm gonna go tip first.
All right, tip first. All right. Let's get Marty's tip.
You can get seconds.
All right. Fair enough. Second is the first loser. Sorry, go ahead.
So we recently did an episode with on our podcast, Pints and Polishing Podcast, with Brian, who he's another guy like us that's been around a long time, been in business many years, and we were talking about training. Fun times, right? Like, a lot of good times talking around training, because training's an important thing, and it's also can be something we talked about earlier, snake oil, right? I've called people out before, right? I've gone after people because my views of training were different than theirs. Training can become a really interesting topic. So we dive into it. We also realized inside of that episode, which is kind of my tip, is what really is the biggest needs when you're starting out, right? What do you need when you start? You talked about the need for a website versus the need for simply OrbisX. Do you need, when you start out, skill set training, or should you take training on sales, marketing, all the other stuff, right? Should you go get skill set training and just then use OrbisX, right? That could be a thing that gets tossed around. So this is the kind of discussions that we like to have. Inside of mine, I talk about how when I started, I needed, well, we call it muscle memory, right? If you've been inside of athletics, if you've been inside of especially baseball, you do a lot of hitting off the tee, right? You do a lot of, I just need to get in front of a batting practice pitcher, right? I needed bats. I need to swing. I need to work, right? That's really was my mentality of when I started cleaning cars. It's why I clean cars at $25 a piece.
Build that muscle memory.
Let that sink in for just a moment. For everybody that wants to complain about the $25 guy down the street, I was that guy. Now, most people didn't know me, so they didn't ever go after me, right? We didn't have social media back then, but I was a $25 guy. I set up at stores. I went to people's businesses. I did a lot of things because I knew there would be a volume of cars and I could have a great price to get into them. Okay. So I needed at bats that way. The thing I didn't know, I didn't really understand sales. I didn't understand how to talk to people and lead them through a sales process. So what did I do? Well, I did something most people would go, that's absolutely crazy. I got involved with multi-level marketing, MLMs. And at one of these events, I was given a rock, right?
All right.
MLMs are always funny. It's a whole lot of hurrahs, right? Like, that is absolutely true. They nail the hurrah meme just the same way as the Corvette guy nails his uniform. And it really is it really is. For those of you that know the Corvette guy uniform, the hurrah is there in the MLMs. It's 100% there. I'm not the hurrah guy, but there's a lot of stuff you can gain from them. And one of these times I was in this, MLM thing where we won this thing and we got to go to this place and they're handing out these rocks.
Right.
Where the lady had handwritten a word for us.
Okay.
And it was our word rock.
All right. Love it.
Right? Just hurrah, right? Like,
hurrah.
The whole time they were cheering and excited. And I sat down and I go, that's a rock. And no, she didn't. She had her assistant handwrite something on here. What are we hurrahing about?
Yeah.
But the word that she had written was perseverance.
Damn.
Such a great word. I needed it for the time I was at, right? So I was going through a lot of stuff personally. Anybody that goes through a divorce, you can understand what that is like. Also then dealing with the business and everything inside of business world, life world, divorce world. Like, that word for me is my tip. There's many times that you're going to look out at life, look out at business, look out at economy, listen to what everybody's saying, you could get confused, as I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are confused today. What should I do? Should I do this? What if I do this? Oh, but what happens if, right? It can be a lot of scared, a lot of confusion. There can be a lot of that. There's a lot of hold true to getting something, getting some customers, getting that at a good price, getting some cars in and out, and just persevering. Through perseverance, you actually get to learn.
It's true.
And that was what I love so much as I began to use that word over time, that, hey, if I just continue on through this long enough, what can really come out about it? I think you and I have done this with
Yeah.
podcasting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how long have we continued to just persevere through podcasting when really what do we get out?
True.
I don't know what we get out of it other than a good time for you and I to chat and talk business and hope that somebody else will gain something from a joke that we call a tip, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and if we persevere long enough, maybe it does well. Maybe somebody and enough people get enough of your tips that they have a bouquet and then they do something with it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll hurrah to that.
right? But perseverance, being able to sustain, take something at a regular level and persevere through. That's not grinding.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Grinding, you're staying still. Persevering, we're still climbing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really like that. It reminds me of every business I've started. Every business I started, there was already existing competition to some degree. There was people telling me, oh, you shouldn't do that. You're not going to succeed at that, or this, that, all kinds of things. And I just kept my head down and just kept going, smooth and steady. Even when I launched OrbisX and people were like, oh, geez, there's already this one out there. There's already that one out there. I persevered every day, made it a little bit better because I knew that there would be an end goal in sight. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I was giving it away for 12 months in the beginning. I had no idea. And the reason I did that, I was basically the guy giving away the $25 details just in the software world. You know what I mean? And there were people saying all kinds of shit like, oh, it's this, it's that, everything. But I just persevered, kept going. And it's a quality, that word is something that I think a lot of people should write down and look at that. Put it on a rock if you need to.
Put it on a rock, goddammit.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoorah! Because it's so true. And it leads into one of the tips I wanted to talk about today as well. Because my word for the day is clarity. And clarity and perseverance are two very important things, because grinding, you have neither. You don't have the perseverance nor the clarity, because you're not clear on what's going on, what your direction is. You're just literally grinding it out. And as you mentioned, staying in one place. And so that's not perseverance, because perseverance is a steady climb, even though it's getting rough. If you're climbing the mountain, you get tired, you don't head back to camp. You make camp, you wake up the next day and you keep climbing, you persevere. That means you also have to have the clarity, because oftentimes people are terrified. I think we're obsessed with making the best decision. So we're scared of making a wrong decision, but really failure is, that's the price of entry in anything that you want to succeed at. And so you have to have clarity. Most people try to think their way to clarity, but thinking just leads to more thinking. The only way to get to clarity is through action. And so you have to take action. You have to persevere, because the only way to get to step 2 is to get to step 1. And most people try and look at the whole staircase, but you're not going to see the whole staircase. And that's where you need that clarity. And the only way is to start doing something, to start taking action. So if you're one of those people that are, overthinking things on the weekend, you're worried about the economy, you're worried about, a post you saw in a Facebook group that, oh my God, the prices in my neighborhood are going down everywhere. Guys, you're ruining the industry. I've seen a lot of these posts lately. And thinking about that is just going to lead to more thinking and more thinking and more thinking, but less action and less doing. So to get that clarity, you got to just start taking some steps. And to take those steps, usually keep doing what you're doing for a period of time. Don't grind, but persevere. And then start to take little steps. And that's how you're going to eventually see the whole staircase. You're going to get that clarity, but it just comes from taking the steps. Now, my real tip for today, though.
Wait, real tip? That wasn't it?
That was a pre-tip of a pre-tip. I have a quick one.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me on your pre-tip of your pre-tip, whatever. I don't know. I'm confused.
This is what happens when you give me seconds.
So inside of that book I've listened to recently, Can't Hurt Me by Goggins.
Yeah.
He talks about one thing that a lot of people don't like to do, but it's standard operating procedure for military, is after everything you do, you give a report. So he really started to find success on his long runs and the stuff that he kept trying to do when he would actually, after he was done, begin to journal and have those reports like he would give in the military, but give it to himself. Where did he do good? Where did he fail? What should he do better at next time? We find this heavy in people that step out into distribution, right? They might start into something new and might go to a car show, might go out and do something, might not have the success that they thought that they should. What do they need to do? Do they need to go down to camp like you talked about and just fold? Or let's pause, let's build a tent, and let's start understanding, what have I done that maybe I could do better at? Maybe I should do this instead of that, right? You have to be able to dissect how you performed. This goes back to your very first tip, right? Like being able to look at both sides, see where you did good, see where you did bad. If you can never look at how you did wrong,
it's gonna be really tough.
It's a slippery slope. If you never look at what you did wrong and see how you can correct it,
it's gonna be really tough to do a lot of right.
Where are you? Yeah, I mean, what?
It's
not good.
It's true. Performance valuations, absolutely. And it,
all right, I'm pre-tipped out, man. I'm pre-tipped out. I'm ready. Come on.
All right.
Let's
go.
All
right. So my official tip. There we go. Just had to adjust myself. But so the official one, it'll be quick too. Is that I think we need to focus on win-win.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Exactly. You always left me. What was it? You always left me satisfied and smiling or something from The Office. That's what she said. Anyway, so my tip today is to focus on a win-win mindset in everything. And so the funny thing is, I was talking with my daughter again. We always have these conversations after school about different things that are going on, and she was trying to join a soccer team that the kids just made it up at school. Anyway, they were setting this thing up, and she said she felt bad though, because my daughter's very athletic, and some of the other kids that wanted to play soccer, they weren't very athletic. So my daughter was taking some time to kind of coach them and show them how to kick the ball, stuff like that, and just get them involved. And then some of her friends were saying, no, we don't want to train the other team because then we're going to lose. And my daughter said, no, we're still going to win, but at the end of the day, we're just going to have fun. We're all going to learn from each other. And the kid said, no, but there has to be a winner, and there has to be a loser. And my daughter said she had a problem with this. And I said, well, you did the right thing, teaching the other kids how to play and stuff like that. And you shouldn't be worried about that, because there's going to be other games that you're going to play that they're not even involved in. They're not the only team. There's an abundance of teams. And then she asked me, she said, is that what a win-win is? And it stuck out to me, because I was like, geez, okay, that is what a win-win is. It's you're both winning, because these other people are becoming better players. But through that, how are you supposed to become a better player if you're constantly playing losers? The only way is if you're playing real competitors. And so a lot of people look at competition as if it's, the worst thing in the world. Like, oh my God, a new shop just opened up. Oh my God, this and that. But how are you ever supposed to check yourself? How are you ever supposed to improve if you're constantly around losers? Like, if you're the only detailer in town, you're probably, even though you're the only one, not the best, because someone else can come in and just wipe you out, because you don't have any other standards to compare it to, So I think that a win-win mindset is really important. And we have to realize that a win-lose mindset is something that we grow up with, because every game for kids is always win-lose. You play chess. There's a winner, there's a loser. How can you have a win-win in chess? Things like that. And a win-lose mindset is very much focused on scarcity. It's very much focused on, we have to win because there's only one trophy, whereas a win-win mindset is more focused on abundance. And we do live in an abundant world. Like, if, you had that picanha today, and unless you live in Ottawa, Ontario, you can still get picanha tomorrow. And so, whereas, I ate an orange today. It's not the last orange on the planet. I'm not concerned if someone down the road is having an orange, because we live in a world of abundance. And I think that when we start to look at the world as win-win, it reframes a lot of your ideology in terms of even dealing with customers. Everyone's always wondering, what should I charge? What should I charge? What should I charge? You're so focused on the win-lose mindset that you're going to win something, the customer's losing his money. Instead of win-win, reframe that question. I want to make X per day or per job. What value do I need to provide to my customer so that they win? How is this a win-win? I'm going to win because I'm reaching my daily target or I'm exceeding it, and the customer's going to win because he's getting X. I rarely see posts where people say, what should I offer my customer for the following month? What should I offer them for this package I want to charge? What should I offer them? It's never customer focused. It's always, what do you guys charge per this? It's very much a win-lose. And I think if we switch our mindset to win-win, you'll see that it applies to so many different avenues, whether it's from stepping up your own game and making sure you're operating at your optimal level, or it's making sure that you're partnering with other detail shops and realizing that they're probably struggling in some areas that you could fill those gaps, and they could fill some gaps you're struggling in, or so on and so forth. You're going to see there's a lot more opportunity to grow and succeed than you think if you just change your mindset to win-win.
And here's something I've learned. This has had to been a learning experience for me. So I think some people might find themselves in a similar boat. And it goes off of what type of personality you are. I'm very empathetic. It's a lot of who I am. And so it took me a long time I've always wanted the other person to win. Always been that way. And it took a long time for me to realize I didn't have to lose in order for that person to win.
Yeah.
So the flip side of the win-win is you got to also make sure the win is for you.
Yes.
You do, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to love yourself and love others, right? Like there has to be a win-win for both. And if there's not a win-win for both, as much as there might be promised, you can't take the step forward. The best bet is to always find a like-minded person who also wants a win for you. Because if they envision a lose for you, even though maybe later you'll get a win, that's already started off on the wrong foot. So, you got to make sure, and it's the flip, right? There's always a flip. It's both ways. I can't take the loss, but I also can't be the guy that wants to dominate so that the other person doesn't win. There has to be that balance of going back and forth both ways. I love that. I love that, Shawn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks. Yeah. And so my daughter did win the game, and but she also raised some winners there that day too, which was good. And but it is important, and you need that win. Just to circle back to your point, is that perseverance is only possible if you do have some of those wins as well. If you're constantly, I know some people that are in business partnerships and one person is doing more than the other, and they're constantly on the losing end of things. And even if their business is winning, it's not a win-win, and it makes it difficult to persevere. So there has to be some win-win. Absolutely. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. I'm tipped out too. That was a lot of tips today. I'm exhausted.
Well, I might have thrown my hip out too.
Yeah. I know I need a Robaxa set. Jesus. But everybody seems happy with the tips, so that's good. All right, Marty. I appreciate you, brother. I'll see you next week, and you'll have another sandwich, I'm sure, and without me. But I'm gonna do my best to get some picanha this week, and maybe I'll ask you for that recipe. Yeah, I haven't checked the butcher in a while, so but I found a new butcher too, and I didn't even ask him. But he I'm sure he can get it because he got me honeycomb, big bricks of honeycomb. Yeah, I've been making. One of my daughters was sick last week, and we're not so big on like store-bought medicine. At times, you grow dependent, doesn't work, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so I make this thing with onion, garlic, turmeric, bunch of stuff, and I needed some natural honey. Oof, man, yeah, so good. Yeah, but anyway, I've been eating it at night, you know, get a little cravings, trying to avoid the candies.
Yeah,
Winter's
send me
coming.
some. Let's do this.
Yeah, we'll do. See, well, yeah, save me some picanha too. All right, Marty, we'll see you next week, man. All right,
Yeah.
cheers.